It's almost absolutely ridiculous that almost every time I see a hit report from Sabs, one of the Sabs has been injured, or one of their windscreens has been smashed, or a tyre slashed. And it's like, well, hang on, they shouldn't have been there.
The hunt shouldn't have been there. No, but you see, I think the thing is, I think now it may be that with social media we learn more about it than in the past, because there wasn't social media. So, but it kind of, in some ways, it kind of does seem to me that perhaps the hunts are more violent now, and I think it might be because they feel a lot more under threat. They feel under threat. They feel their days are numbered.
Well, these are privileged people, aren't they? Kind of, how dare you, kind of thing. You plebs, stop me doing this.
Well, yes, and I think also, I would say the hunt sabs have played a part in forcing some of these hunts out of existence, because there are fewer hunts now than there used to be. There are fewer hunts operating now than when I was sabbing. What's happened is quite a lot of the hunts that were operating then have either gone out of existence or they've amalgamated with other hunts, because it's an expensive business to run a hunt, which is why they do all these different fundraising events to raise money. And the masters of the hunt, I think there's at one time there'd be one master of a hunt, some big toff who'd be a master of a hunt at one time.
Yeah, do you remember we had all that problem with the magistrates? Yeah. We often would end up in front of the magistrates, and the magistrates were the people who were being on the hunting.
That's part of the problem, though, isn't it? How can you expect justice when the very people who dispense justice are the one committing the crimes? Like, how can you expect that?
I mean, absolutely, or from the same kind of class of people.
Yeah, or friends with, or associated with, or play golf with, or something, yeah.
Do you remember the charge that the Sabs used to mainly get, Ronnie?
It used to be very often Section 5, which is breach of the peace.
Yeah,
would be, and what was really interesting was there were a couple of court cases where both involved women who'd been attacked by the hunt, or their vehicles had been attacked by the hunt, and members of the hunt were taken to court in both of these cases, and the members of the hunt were convicted either assault or criminal damage, and I think were fined. They didn't get a very this was in a magistrate's court, they didn't get a very big penalty. But then in both of those cases, particular cases that I remember, the magistrate wanted to bind over the woman who was the victim of the hunt attack, to keep the peace, by saying, well, you shouldn't have been there disrupting the hunt.
I think it's a really interesting legal thing, because I remember coppers used to say, when you're on the Sabs, you're in danger or being charged with action likely to cause breach of the peace.
Yeah, that's right, yes.
And I said, well, what's the action likely? And they said, well, turning up. I said,
exactly.
Surely it's the hunts that do that, because hunting is unpopular in the country. All the opinion polls, show that most people are against hunting, and so it's them turning up that's the action. Not
absolutely. Us. But in both of these cases involving these two women, they refused to be bound over. They said, no, I'm not going to be bound over. I haven't done anything wrong. I was out there trying to save an animal from being killed. I've been attacked, or my property's been damaged, and now you're trying to bind me over to keep. And they refused. And because they refused, they were put in prison. One was put in prison for a week, and the other one was put in prison for a month. Who
are the alleged victims of this breach of peace?
No, it's being bound over to keep the peace. What it is, say the magistrate say, I'm going to bind you over in the sum of £50 to keep the peace for 12 months, right? That means if you appear in court again, get charged with something and appear in court again.
Yeah, it's almost like a threatened fine, isn't it?
It's like a kind of suspended sentence thing. It's like then you've got to pay that £50. But you haven't actually broken the law in the first place. You don't have to break the law to be bound over to keep the peace.